Everyone would be like, that is not Reverend Thorne. That looks like a total Reverend Jim idea, but I do love
Yeah,
it.
they would know that was me. That's
They would
kind
know
of
that's
my.
you. But there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to say, Reverend Jim said I should do this.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Another week, another episode of The Word Made Fresh. And hey, look who's here this time. Reverend Adrienne Thorne, the senior minister, back in the house, back in the pulpit. We've missed you, but we've had some great
Aw.
preaching. So it's not like
Yes, we
we've missed
have.
great preaching. We've had
Yes.
Reverend Mira, Dr. Tathamanil, and now we are.
And Healy,
Oh,
Minister Healy.
was it 3 weeks in a row with no you?
It
Wow. Okay.
may have been, or maybe I was in the middle there, but someone just said
Yeah,
to me
yeah.
this week that her sermon was outstanding. So,
Oh, absolutely. Let's just pause this. If you haven't seen Minister Healy's sermon, just literally pause this video and go watch it. You will be
yeah,
doing yourself and the world a favor and then come back. And Healy's on the schedule in like a month or so, I think, isn't
I
she?
think you're right. First Sunday
Yeah.
of April. But a
Yeah.
professional dancer said to me, "Oh my gosh, she started with this embodied thing because she's like, this is what we do here. But then they said she kept bringing it back into the sermon.
Oh.
And so this professional dancer saw me on the bus and was telling me how amazing it was that Healy not only started, but like made it like a through line in her sermon. So I'm like, can't wait to
Yep.
see it. Yeah,
Yep. They're all worth watching. So including
for
you, Reverend
sure.
Thorne, pause this video, go watch those. But looking back is wonderful. I have a rearview mirror right here. We got to look back. But we are
Oh my
going
God.
to look forward to this coming
Yes.
Sunday. We are
Hmm.
still in Luke, but we're
Yeah.
in Luke chapter, wait, 9? Okay, we
Mm.
skipped chapter 8. We spent 3 weeks in chapter 7. It was lovely. And now we're back to the fast pace. Luke chapter 9. We got kind of a couple stories mashed up here. Jesus and his closest pals are going hiking up a mountain. This is the transfiguration story. And then
Hmm.
they come back down the next day after their camping trip, and there's a little bit of like a demon possession healing moment happening. So,
Like happens. Just your
so
run of the mill.
how are you thinking about this text this Sunday? This is the last Sunday before Lent begins, so there's kind of a
That's right.
few things circling the waters.
Right.
So how are you approaching this one?
Yeah, so we're closing out a season. We're closing out this season of Epiphany, this season of light, and moving into this season of journey, this season of walking towards the cross, the wilderness, all the different ways that people name this coming season. And I think it's always important for us to pay attention when we're opening and closing seasons. It's actually really interesting that the transfiguration, with its focus on the shifting in Jesus's appearance, I think closes out a season because it is really an invitation to notice as we're going into the season of Lent, which for many of us is a time when we slow down, we let go of things, we simplify. Uh, there's a real invitation to spiral deeper into our relationship with Christ, in what we eat, in the ways that we are maybe more intentional about our service and our volunteering. So I love this story because there is a lot for us to take in and to notice. There's the voice from above. There's the appearance of Jesus's face. There's the light. That all stems from this uh, desire of his to go up on this mountain to pray, which also is important in the season of Lent. People often
Yeah.
enter into a more intentional practice of prayer. So I'm thinking about all of that as we close out and step into Lent.
It really is the perfect story to transition from the season of Epiphany to the season of Lent because you've
Hmm.
got those elements of light happening with the
Yeah.
transfiguration. It really capstones well. I mean, Epiphany didn't start with Jesus' baptism, but that was early on in our journey through Luke this season. And in many ways, this is a bookmark to that, a parallel where we heard God's voice at Jesus' baptism in Luke. This is my beloved son. And here, God's voice shows up for the second time in Luke. We hear God speaking it again. This is my beloved son. Listen to him. So there's a little bit of like we began a journey. We have this little intermission, almost you could
Hmm.
say, and then we're getting ready for coming down the mountain where Jesus direction will clearly be pointed towards Jerusalem and
Hmm.
towards the cross and resurrection in just a few short pages, it seems.
Few short pages. And there's something interesting here, Jim, that you may have some thoughts about. So this coming down the mountain part has always fascinated me. There's this mountaintop experience, this great
Mm,
flashy appearance of prophets, disappearance of prophets, all of these polyphonic, wacky experiences that sort of stun the three disciples who have gone with Jesus up on the mountain. And then very quickly back to our normal, back to our regularly scheduled life. Um, there's something about that juxtaposed with this great thing that I think also invites our attention. Um, Something about the ordinary everydayness next to this great moment, but also this what you often say about the bushes always being on fire. Did Jesus really, did his appearance actually change, or did something in the
mm,
disciples change that helped them to notice? Um, and so I'm wondering about that. Isn't Jesus always lit up? And maybe we missed it. Maybe we could see it for that moment. Maybe he does something that allows them to slow down so that they
yeah.
can, and then maybe very quickly back into their ordinary life, they miss it again. And I think that happens for us, right?
Yep.
When I'm on retreat, when I'm on vacation, me and Jesus are like this. But when I come down the mountain, out of the retreat center, get on the one train, right? It's hard to see. It's hard to
Yep.
see again. So I don't know if you have thoughts
I love
about
that.
that.
No, no, I think that contrast, a couple things. It shows why I think it might be easy to just be like, I'm just going to preach the first half of this. I don't want the coming down the mountain part. But maybe you need them both. You need the moments of isolation, those spaces away from the norms, but then you have to bring that experience into the everyday life. You have to find the divine in the daily, the Christ in the common, the sacred in
Mm,
the profane and the mundane.
mhm, mm,
And it's not, I
mhm.
think it's not just seeing Christ's face transfigured, but it's hearing God's voice. Why do we only hear God in some places and then we come back
Mm,
down in the hustle and bustle of people needing help? Suddenly we have a ringing in our ears and we can't hear it. How do we have those moments to see and hear, especially when we're in the ordinary every day?
right. And I think particularly in this moment in our nation, in the US, but I would say globally as well, we are absolutely freaking out.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really powerful about this text where Jesus is like, no, no, like look
Yeah.
here. It's interesting that this gospel doesn't use the word transfigure. It
Hmm.
uses the word appearance. That was just something I
Mm-hmm.
read in a commentary on Working Preacher. I don't know that there's a whole lot to say about that, but they say that this other synoptics use the verb metamorpho, change of form, which equals transfigure, but Luke avoids that verb and uses eidos, appearance. I don't know if that's a big deal, but it seems like there might be something to massage there. Um, Again, with your thought about how things are always, the bushes are always on fire. Jesus is always on the one train. What you said about Christ in the common and God speaking. Um, all the time, right? But there's something about the getting away. There's something
Mm-hmm.
about the focus and the silence and the time of prayer. That for me is a really big deal. That it's out of that time of prayer that this polyphonic
Yes.
otherworldly experience happens. And I don't know. I don't know how disciplined we are, especially in this moment with all that's happening in our government. Have we leaned more deeply into our prayer life so that we can see this appearance, so that we can hear from God? Or, as Professor Chitamanal said last week, have we made our discipline and our practice the 24-hour news cycle? Because he's like, if that's what you're doing, That's not helping anybody.
That's not praying without ceasing.
No,
That's just, being paralyzed without ceasing. That's
right.
just being distracted without
Exactly.
ceasing. That's yeah.
Exactly. And just to be clear, he didn't say avoid the news entirely. He said maybe 15 minutes in the start of the day and 15 minutes towards the evening. But he said, but what you practice, what you make your discipline regularly is going to form you or disform you. And that just really arrested me because he's a person that was able to stand in the pulpit and say, despite the policies and practices of J.D. Vance, he is still a beloved child of God, as beloved as I am. You can only do that. Like, I don't know that you can do that if all you're doing is watching CNN or Fox or MSNBC. You
Yeah.
cannot see the person you think is your enemy as a beloved child of God
Yeah.
with that practice.
I think getting away to those mountaintops can be essential at times because
Yeah.
it is what it's the shooting your free throws. I growing up, two older
Mm.
sisters, we all played basketball. We're tall Midwestern people, so basketball is, part of our DNA. And my dad was so convinced that free throws will win or lose the game. He would often tally up the free throws that are missed in a game, and they would have been the deciding factor. And you can't practice your free throws during the game. You've got to spend a lot of time practicing those free throws just to get that muscle memory down so your body just knows what to do in those high pressure, stressful, exhausting moments. And that's, I think, what Jesus is doing here, going up on the mountain to pray, even showing his disciples, hey, let me teach you how to shoot some free throws so that when you come down and people need you, you have these
Ah,
skills whoosh, to do
oh
exactly
my
what you need to
God.
do in those
Yes.
stressful, exhausting moments,
Yes,
which
Jim.
we're in one right now
We're
for
in one
sure.
right now, and you make me think I want to change my sermon title to Jesus on the free throw line because you think about those folks that get that muscle memory, and I don't care how crazy the crowds are going. I don't care if there's like 2.7 seconds on the clock. It all just fades
Yeah,
away, and it's like that thing where Jesus is like, look here, this is it, right? It's not the news, it's
yep,
not the crowds, it's you and me. And you're right, it's like that level of focus is what is needed, that level
yeah.
of practice, that level of discipline, so that you can so it's all net. I
Yeah.
love that
Just
metaphor.
saying, if I were in the pulpit this Sunday and had this idea, it's still enough time. I'd be like, let's get a portable basketball hoop, wheel it into the nave, and shoot some free throws from the floor of the nave as part.
Everyone would be like, that is not Reverend Thorne, that looks like a total Reverend Jim idea, but I do love
Yeah,
it.
they would know that was me. That's
They would
kind
know
of
that's
my.
you. But there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to say, Reverend Jim said I should do this. Where can I get a portable basketball thing
I mean,
like this quick?
we have the Riverside Hawks. Maybe they have something in their
Ooh,
back closet,
okay.
or
I will write Chris Shelton. No, no. I can't think of his last name, but you know who I mean, and
Yep,
ask him
yep.
if he has something. Or maybe have them come and do it for us. That would be
That'd
awesome
be.
if someone were just shooting free throws for the whole
Oh,
sermon. That would be a gorgeous like backdrop, right?
the sound, boom, boom.
Oh my God. Oh my God, it would be so good. Okay, now I have to see if I can pull it off. Any of you watching, don't give it away.
Yeah, and if it doesn't happen, don't get your hopes up. We'll see. You never know. Can't hold us to anything we
Oh,
say on these things. All
yeah.
the ideas hit the wall. We'll see what sticks on Sunday.
But Jim, that metaphor is amazing. One, it tracks with this notion of the appearance, like the level of focus that it takes to one, to be consistent and disciplined in your practice, Jesus on the mountain praying, but also to be so consistent and disciplined in your focus that you hear the voice of God, you see the appearance of Jesus, no matter if you're on the mountain or down in the ordinary space. Because, of course, the disciples can't heal the man's child. They can't do what Jesus has done. They are still lagging. They still don't get it. They still have not arrived at the place I think where Jesus imagined or hoped they would arrive, which is our story as well. And so there's this invitation I think as we go into Lent to I don't know, to double down, to recommit,
Yeah.
to get on the free throw line like every day for an hour. Like Michael Jordan
Mm.
apparently had some ridiculous free throw regimen. Um, I didn't watch Space Jam, but I, I read about it.
What?
But I think, But I think he had some, like he would do an hour or 2 hours every single
Yeah.
day for
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it was years, but when you read about people who have the level of success that he has, other athletes, artists, Yo-Yo Ma, even folks in business like a Steve Jobs, there is a there is an obsessive, compulsive, almost religious
Yep.
um, commitment to the practice, right? Because if I'm going
Hmm.
to be the best, I have to do this thing. And I often tell this joke about, it's not really a joke, but a story. This woman goes to hear a great maestro, concert pianist play, and she's just overwhelmed, and there's a crowd waiting for him when he comes out of the stage door. And she waits till the end and she goes up because she played the piano as well, but of course was not a maestro. So she says, Maestro, I would give my life to play like that. And he says, I did, right?
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
takes. And that, I think, is the Lenten invitation,
Mm.
to give our lives, not to be on the cross, but to have that level of discipline,
Mm.
focus, practice. Not to beat ourselves up when we don't, but to just to get back up
Yep.
again, get back on the free throw line.
Practice your free throws. That's what
That's
prayer is.
right.
That's what these disciplines
That's what
are.
it
That's what this
is.
spirituality is. So that
Yeah.
in those moments we have something to lean on. And if we learn from a mistake in the moment, we go back to the free throw line and practice it again.
That's right. Oh man, it's such a beautiful metaphor because the crowd is so loud right now. And it's not
Yeah.
just the folks we call our enemies. It's also like I'm watching our progressive liberal. I hear the I hear the kids. I love it. It's also our progressive liberal colleagues and friends who are just crumbling,
Yeah.
crying, buckling. And I understand, but it suggests that our muscle
Yep.
isn't has we haven't
Yep.
built it.
Yep. Yeah, and you can definitely see other postures and ideologies and worldviews who have built the muscles of how to
Yes.
respond and engage in this
Yes.
time with the media
Yes.
landscape as it is and has become and
Right.
evolved. And yeah,
Right.
whew,
And respond in a way, and I'm glad you said that. Um, that is still joyful, hopeful,
yeah,
because I think that's our call when we get in the pulpit every week as well. Um, Certainly, there's a lot that is doomsday like,
yeah,
but I think the call to remind people that the Spirit is real, that God is still on the throne, that the only power in the universe is the power of God's love,
yeah,
um, is what we're called to do. And I think when we forget that and we kind of get sucked into some other thing, um, it shows that our muscle isn't maybe what Jesus
yeah.
is hoping it will be. Yeah, I love this free
Well,
throw.
we'll see what happens on Sunday. Maybe there'll be free throws. Who knows? Reverend Thorne could take it in a whole other direction. You know, she's a dancer. It's going to turn into a dancing metaphor. That's always lovely too.
I like the free throws because I think it's more universal, and
Yeah,
that Michael Jordan, people know that story, and it's also just the sound of it. I think
yeah.
is
Boom,
more, yeah,
clank,
exactly.
swoosh. Yeah, there's a visceral experience just even in the auditory nature of that. Yeah,
Absolutely. Oh my God. Thank you for
yeah.
that. Go change my
Well,
sermon title now.
the fun of these conversations, everybody. Here, you thought we were just giving you, the audience, ideas and tips and a preview. It's real life sermon prep. That's what happens anytime we talk.
So
Uh, uh,
powerful.
so, everyone, you know the drill. This coming Sunday, join us for the final Sunday in this season of Epiphany as we get ready to
Yes.
turn that page into
Mm,
Ash Wednesday, which is a good reminder. Ash Wednesday is coming up. The Wednesday after Sunday, Wednesday, March 5th, I think is the
March
day.
5th, I think you're right.
We'll have imposition of ashes at Riverside, I think around 12 to 2. Some of the clergy might be at some local subway stops in the morning, and then we
That's
have an
right.
Ash Wednesday service that evening. This is all next week, Wednesday, March 5th. This coming Sunday, join us for this, maybe a free throw shooting sermon. Worship
Yes.
starts at 11, special music 10:30, Bible study 9:30. It's all the information's in the description below, so just go check that out. And we hope to see you and welcome Reverend Thorne back to the pulpit. It's going to be a fun stretch with you in these upcoming weeks. I'm looking forward to the season of Lent and all the ways we'll be exploring and experiencing it together as a community. And it all starts very, very soon. All right, see you all on the next one.